In the heart of southern Africa lies a nation of breathtaking beauty, golden savannas, towering mountains, and vibrant cultures. But beneath that beauty once lived a system so cruel, so calculated, that it divided human beings simply by the color of their skin. This was apartheid, a word that in Afrikaans simply meant apartness. But for millions of black South Africans, it meant something far worse. It meant humiliation. It meant fear. It meant living as a stranger in your own land. The birth of apartheid. In 1948, the political party known as the National Party came to power in South Africa. Their mission was clear. They wanted complete racial separation. White South Africans, a small minority, would control the land, the government, the wealth, and the future. Black South Africans, who were the majority, would live under strict control. And so began one of the most brutal social experiments in modern history. Classified by skin. The government passed a law called the Population Registration Act. Every person had to be classified into racial categories: white, black, colored, Indian. Families were sometimes split apart. A brother could be labeled one race, while his sister was labeled another. Your race determined where you could live, work, study, and even who you could look out for. The land was taken. Another law followed, the Group Areas Act. Millions of black families were forcibly removed from their homes. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed overnight. Bulldozers flattened houses. Communities that had lived together for generations vanished. One of the most famous victims was District 6. Over 60,000 residents were forced out. Their only crime was living in the wrong place while being the wrong color. Black South Africans were forced to carry a document called a passbook. Without it, you could be arrested immediately. These laws were known as the pass laws. Police stopped people in the streets daily. If you forgot your pass at home, you could go to prison. Thousands were jailed every year for this single reason. Freedom of movement did not exist. In 1960, thousands of peaceful protesters gathered in the township of Sharpeville. They were protesting the pass laws. They carried no weapons, only their voices. But the police responded with gunfire. This tragedy became known as the Sharpeville Massacre. 69 people were killed. Many were shot in the back while running away. The world was horrified. But inside South Africa, the system continued. One of the loudest voices against apartheid belonged to Nelson Mandela. Mandela was a lawyer who believed South Africans of all races could live equally. For his activism, he was arrested. In 1964, he was sentenced to life in prison. He would spend 27 years behind bars, most of them on Robben Island. His prison cell was small, barely large enough for a bed. Yet Mandela's spirit never broke. Outside the prison walls, the movement kept growing. Students protested, workers went on strike, communities organized underground resistance. In 1976, school students in Soweto rose up against apartheid education. Police opened fire on children. The world saw the image of a dying boy carried through the streets. That boy was Hector Peterson. He was only 12 years old. The photograph shocked the world, and the pressure on apartheid began to grow. Countries began imposing sanctions. Sports teams refused to play South Africa. Musicians canceled concerts. The anti-apartheid movement became global. Even inside the country, the government realized the system could not last forever. Freedom finally comes. In 1990, after 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela walked free. 4 years later, in 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election. People of all races voted together for the first time. Mandela became the country's first black president. The system of apartheid officially ended. But the scars remain. Apartheid may have ended, but its wounds still echo across South Africa. Economic inequality, divided neighborhoods, generations shaped by injustice. History does not disappear overnight, yet South Africa also tells a story of something powerful: resilience. A nation that faced one of the darkest systems in modern history and still found the courage to rebuild. The story of apartheid is not just South Africa's story, it is a warning to the world, a reminder of what happens when hatred becomes law, and a reminder of the power of people who refuse to accept injustice. Because in the end, even the strongest walls of oppression cannot imprison the human spirit. Subscribe to the African Story Vault, where Africa's untold stories finally get the voice they deserve.